universe is filled with secrets and mysteries, leaving us with many questions to be answered. We find ourselves searching for those answers as the very fabric of space, science, and society are converging. Here, for the first time, these worlds collide.
Oh, what are you saying?
Oh, you trekkies and TV addicts. Don't mean to this, don't mean to bring static. Oh, you Klingons in your grandma's house. Grab your backstreet friend, they get loud.
Say, Doc, what's the condition? I'm a man that's on a mission. Like a scientist. When I'm applying it.
Check it out. What's it all about?
Now, get busy.
Welcome back. This is StarTalk Radio. I'm your host, astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. I serve as the director of the Hayden Planetarium at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. And today's subject is light. In fact, dare I call it, let there be light. And who else shines bright in all of our lives but Lynn Complitz. Lynn, welcome back to StarTalk Radio.
Hello,
You're a
Neil.
founding co-host of mine on this program.
That's right.
And welcome back.
Thank you. It's exciting to be back.
I know. You think about light all the time. This whole show is on light. And what we would otherwise call the electromagnetic spectrum, but it's light to like most people. But to the astrophysicist, light is not just like the colors of the rainbow. Roy G. Biv. Have you heard of Roy G. Biv?
Of course.
I don't know what you've heard of.
I'm not special needs.
Okay, can you recite them?
Genius.
You're not special needs.
Red, orange, yellow, indigo, blue, violet.
What happened to green?
Well, that's obvious.
Okay.
That's the G.
Right. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. That's the visible part of the electromagnetic spectrum.
I didn't know there was a pop quiz.
And then it goes in either direction. So you go beyond the red. Beneath the red, it's infrared. Infra means less than, back when they first laid this out. You can't see infrared. And you go beyond infrared, you get to microwaves and radio waves. We've all heard of these. Maybe you didn't know it was part of the family of light that we call the electromagnetic spectrum. And you come out the other side, beyond violet, what do you find there?
Beyond violet?
Yes.
Headache.
Ultraviolet, and to go beyond ultraviolet, X-rays, and then gamma rays. There's the entire electromagnetic spectrum, and the astrophysicist is an expert in each of these bands, and the universe talks to us in each one of those bands, telling us something different. But what we should do is sort of start off with...
I know, I'm going to be patient, because I don't understand half of what you just said.
Let's start out. Let's see what Bill
lost
Nye...
me at
Let's see if we
bands.
can get Bill Nye to just sort of warm us up with just an encounter with what our telescopes do for the universe.
We're on the radio. What better time to ponder what we cannot see? If you start counting, you'd say you see a lot of things. Tiny things like pistils between petals of petunias. And big things like fantastically faraway stars. But now try the eyepiece of an instrument, a telescope. The moon's not smooth. It's a mess. Those aren't just bright dots. They're worlds with rings and weather. Some of the dots aren't just worlds. They're galaxies full of worlds. And so far, we've just talked about rays of light visible to human eyes. It turns out that even though we see thousands and millions and billions of things, we hardly see the energy of the universe at all. Visible light waves, and microwaves, and X-rays, and cosmic rays, even heat waves are manifestations of both electricity and magnetism at the same time. Electromagnetism. It radiates all over the place, or places, all over space, the universe. By building remarkable instruments to detect all these wavelengths of electromagnetic energy, we discovered planets, stars, and galaxies. Now as we build better and better instruments, we found that we don't know the half of it, actually about the 94% of it. We've detected a great deal of energy from vast reaches of space, but there just has to be so much we don't yet see. Let's look into the sky and stay tuned. For StarTalk Radio, I'm Bill Nye, the Science Guy.
Bill Nye, always telling it like it is. Lynn, welcome with me, one of our guests tonight.
We have cool guests today, and they're all here.
And they're all here in studio. First up in this segment is Michael Benson. Michael, welcome to StarTalk Radio.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
How do I characterize you? As like a journalist, a photographer, a photojournalist, a astronut? because everything you write about and everything you publish books on is about the universe.
Yeah, the answer is yes. That's how you can characterize me. Thank you very much.
Photojournalist.
An astrophoto nut journalist.
Astronut photojournalist.
I first met you many years ago. I think you were preparing one of your earlier books called Far Out. Was that one of them, or did I meet you?
No, that was the first one. Far Out is the last one, and that covers basically everything from just at the gates of our solar system all the way to the Big Bang.
Okay, so this is a book where you have collected images together with narrative where you're just bringing the universe to the public. Okay?
Yes. And then the first book was called Beyond, and that's the one you probably saw.
Beyond.
We collaborated a little to put a show up. I don't know if you remember. We put a show up at the Hayden
No, I do
Planetarium.
remember. So Beyond those were the space probes that then put up, got images of the planets. So I'm fortunate as an astrophysicist to have journalists who care about the universe, because then you get to do some of the work that we would otherwise try to do, but wouldn't necessarily succeed. And you've been eminently successful at this. Beautiful books that you've published.
Thank you.
So what about the universe attracts you? Is it just because the stuff looks cool? And you're a photographer too, so you think about light and what it does and how it and there's a little bit of artist in you, so you think about how light affects the viewer and
I
images.
like to think there's a lot of artists in me, Neil, but I'm just teasing you here.
All right.
What about the universe attracts me? That kind of question. It's almost impossible to answer that because everything is the universe, so anything that's attractive is the universe. But what about the universe attracts me? I mean,
Whoa, you just blew my mind socks off. What does that mean?
Oh, my God, I think I did.
No, he's saying even people sitting next to him is part of the universe.
That's part of the universe.
So
Okay.
images of him. Right.
Okay.
No, I mean,
my universe is just my little universe.
All right. Uh-huh.
No, I don't know. It's probably,
Come on,
it's
I'm
probably quite large.
teasing.
No, but what attracts me to the universe? I mean, I think that part of it, to be moderately serious here, is that, in the last 50 years, we have seen things that everybody prior to 50 years ago could only dream of seeing, which is highly detailed images of all the planets, of the solar system, and then also after the Hubble was launched and so on, incredibly detailed pictures of the origin, the beginnings of solar systems in Orion and this kind of thing. So my question is, how is it possible, really, for people not to be attracted
So when
to
you say
this?
beginnings of solar system in Orion, the constellation Orion has one of its stars is actually a region of the galaxy where stars are being born, and that's what you meant when you said
the Orion Nebula.
the Orion Nebula,
Yes.
very famous place in the solar system, a stellar nursery, in fact. And so all these places excite you, and so but you didn't take any of these pictures. You assembled them from public sources, right?
Well, thanks for pointing that out, Neil.
I'm just,
I was just going to say,
no.
wow, what a CB, what a blocker.
Yeah, well, no. I mean, look.
so what do we need you for?
Well, I'll tell you.
Why do you even invite you on the show?
I was wondering that too when I got the call, but then I decided
a
I would
good
play
eye.
along.
All right.
I would play along with you guys. Part of it is that it's true I didn't take the individual shots. In fact, it's impossible. No human being has been in orbit of Jupiter, for example, or orbiting Saturn. But what I do
Yeah, that's right.
do...
Tell him.
Tell it like
Go
it is.
ahead.
Yeah,
Go
tell it like it
ahead.
is,
Pull
Michael.
the gloves off,
Take
Michael.
that,
Don't
Neil.
take that from him.
Take that, man.
He's no genius in here. He's just a guy. I'll hold him. You hit him.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think he's certainly
I
got
know.
elements of genius, I mean, just
Well,
the way all of us do.
Pick
But okay.
a side. Pick a side.
I'm on your side, baby.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
that was
let me just say this. What I do is go into archives that have hundreds of thousands of raw images, and I look for extraordinary frames, which I can then mosaic together.
Mosaic means you tile them together to make a bigger picture than what the
Exactly.
single image was.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I composite them to get color, and so I feel very much. I feel almost authorial towards them because some of them really wouldn't exist if I hadn't. Authorial, like I'm the author.
Oh, okay,
I
sorry.
I feel like the author of quite a number of them, even though, of course, anybody can go into the archives, and I encourage this very much, to go into the archives
So
of
the
raw
point is,
data.
anyone can do it, but they didn't. You did.
Right.
And so you then had the privilege of being the first in, and therefore the first out with these beautiful books that you've published.
I mean, I'll
It's
tell
like
you a
you
story.
make a collage almost, but you put it
Yeah.
all together.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story. I mean, recently I had a show in Chelsea in my gallery, which is Hasted Krautler Gallery on West 24th Street. And because I had the deadline of February 3rd to have an opening, I went into the archives and I started digging in Cassini material. Cassini is the spacecraft orbiting Saturn right now. And I started looking for extraordinary images.
Tons of images are there.
Yeah, and I found these amazing images of the dark side of Saturn, which was not dark. It was not dark because there's so much indirect light bouncing off the rings and so on. And I put together a multiple frame mosaic. And as it emerged in color and I made it seamless and everything, I had the very real sensation that I was the first human being to see
the backside of Saturn.
You can put it that way. The backside of Saturn. I saw the rear side of Saturn in a way. And I had this amazing sensation that I was a privileged person because I had done this. And then, of course, for me, part of the fun of it is to get it out there and show it to people.
Let me bring in my second of
it's
three.
Beautiful.
It is. Let me bring in my second of three guests. His name is Brian Abbott. Brian, welcome to StarTalk Radio, your first appearance.
Thank
Correct.
you, Neil. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Brian, you have to tell this to the audience. Tell everyone, because I know in advance, tell everyone what it says on your business card is what it is that you do. You are what?
Well, I have a business card that reads Manager of the Digital Universe.
Manager of the Digital Universe. That is so cool. That's like, does that get you dates in the bar? Is that...
It doesn't hurt.
It's better than Staple. Manager of Staple.
So Brian, you come to this, you have a huge science background, you're computer literate, and you put together data sets for the Hayden Planetarium that enables people to sort of take journeys through those data. And so what are some of your challenges collecting them scientifically? Because Michael Benson is mining the archives, and that's cool, but at the end of the day, they're still just photographs. Photographs, 2D photos. Sorry, Michael, I'm sorry. So, Brian,
it's art, too.
Yeah, it is art. It is art. But, Brian, you take another dimension here. So where do you take it?
But that's just another dimension.